The 4.10 update of Fleet Freedom is mostly targeted to the permission system. It's a complete overhaul. So we're going to start by looking at the user groups. Once you've selected a user group, you can see that it looks completely different. It starts out with a description as to what permissions are, what it is to grant or revoke, and even the levels of which you can grant or revoke permissions. There's a description of each icon we now use in the table below, as well as a formula which explains how the user's access is determined. Every user starts with implied permissions. Then we add all the user group grants, then remove all the user group revokes. We then add all individual user grants, then remove all individual user revokes. After that, the user then knows what they have access to within the system. If we scroll down a bit, we can see that there is a clear visual distinction between grant and revoke. Grant is green, revoke is red. No question. There is also a visual distinction between the levels of permissions revoked or granted. If you scroll down further, you'll see the question marks to the right. If any user has questions about what a specific permission is, all they have to do is click on the question mark and it explains what that permission does. An important point to note is that asset and places permissions can be label restricted. By clicking the empty space here and starting to type your label name, you can restrict that permission type for that label. If you need to add another restriction, click the plus sign here. If you don't restrict these permissions, the rules will apply to all assets and places. So if we go over to the Users Permission tab, we see that it looks pretty similar to the user group, except the permission colors are faded. This is because these are the inherited permissions from this user's membership to their user groups. Now, we can change these permissions here and it won't make any changes to the user group. It will only affect this individual user. We can also preview what changes would occur if we added or removed our membership to another user group. If we take a look at the access we have to behaviors, it seems very limited. But if we scroll up and add the administrator user group and don't save it, we can then scroll back down and we'll see that the access to the behaviors has changed drastically. So if you have any questions about this update, please contact our support team. They're more than happy to help.